Diving into a crucial decision that every Nordic SaaS startup faces, choosing between AWS and Azure in 2025. This isn't just another generic cloud comparison. I've tailored this specifically for the unique challenges and opportunities that Nordic startups encounter. By the end of this video, you'll have clarity on which cloud giant better serves your needs as you build and scale your SaaS business in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, or Iceland. Let's explore the key factors that matter most to Nordic innovators. Before we compare the cloud giants, let's understand what makes the Nordic SaaS ecosystem unique in 2025. The Nordic SaaS market has exploded to a 15.7 billion euros valuation. That's a remarkable 47% growth since 2023. With over 1,800 SaaS startups across the region, innovation hubs in Stockholm, Helsinki, Copenhagen, and Oslo are producing globally competitive solutions. What's unique about Nordic startups? 3 things stand out. First, sustainability isn't just a buzzword. It's a core value and competitive advantage. Second, data sovereignty and compliance with EU regulations are non-negotiable. And third, Nordic startups are known for their ability to scale rapidly across Europe and then globally. These characteristics directly impact your cloud provider decision. Here's a real-world example that brings it all together. Meet Jonas, CTO of PrivacyGuard, a Helsinki-based data privacy SaaS startup that helps companies comply with GDPR and other privacy regulations. Jonas's journey, from selecting a cloud provider to scaling across Europe, will illustrate the real-world implications of choosing between AWS and Azure in the Nordic context. Let's start with perhaps the most critical factor, regional infrastructure. For Nordic startups, data residency and low latency are essential. AWS currently operates its Stockholm region with 3 availability zones, with an Oslo region planned to launch in Q3 2025. This gives you solid coverage in Sweden with good connectivity to neighboring countries. Azure, however, has made the Nordics a priority with established regions in Norway and Sweden, with 3 availability zones each, a Finland region with 2 zones, and a Denmark region announced for Q4 2025. When Jonas launched PrivacyGuard, this infrastructure difference was significant. Her Finnish customers wanted data stored domestically, which initially pushed her toward Azure. However, she discovered that AWS's Stockholm region provided sufficient performance while offering more specialized services for her particular needs. The trade-off wasn't obvious at first. The reality in 2025 is that both providers offer strong regional presence, but Azure edges out with more local regions. That said, region count isn't everything. The services available in each region and how they align with your specific needs matter more. Sustainability is often a core value and selling point in this region. Both cloud providers have strong sustainability credentials, but important differences exist. AWS has met its 100% renewable energy target for Nordic operations and pledges to be carbon negative by 2030. Azure has been carbon negative since 2023 and operates what they call circular data centers in Sweden and Finland, where waste heat is captured and fed into district heating systems. Their sustainability reporting tools are also more comprehensive, allowing you to measure your carbon footprint across their services. For Jonas at PrivacyGuard, sustainability was a key part of their brand identity. The company promoted its environmentally responsible approach to data privacy, so cloud provider sustainability credentials mattered deeply. She found that while both providers had strong environmental stories, Azure's more advanced sustainability reporting made it easier to share precise metrics with customers and investors. The regulatory landscape in 2025 includes not just GDPR, but enhanced EU digital sovereignty requirements and Nordic-specific regulations. Both providers offer comprehensive GDPR compliance tools, but there are notable differences in their approaches to European data sovereignty. Microsoft's EU data boundary for Azure ensures that data processing and storage remain within the EU, while AWS's European Sovereign Cloud offers similar protections with some architectural differences. For financial services startups, Azure holds a slight edge with its deeper integration with the Nordic Financial Supervisory Authority's requirements. For healthcare SaaS companies, AWS has more specialized HIPAA equivalent tools. Jonas's company needed to guarantee customers that their data would never leave the EU and would comply with the strictest interpretations of data protection laws. She discovered that Azure's compliance documentation was more comprehensive and easier to incorporate into her own compliance reporting. Your existing technical stack and developer expertise significantly impact which cloud provider will be most efficient for your team. If your team is heavily invested in Microsoft technologies like .NET and C#, Azure offers native integration and familiar tooling. This is particularly relevant in the Nordics, where .NET has a strong presence in enterprise settings. AWS supports these technologies too, but the experience feels more native in Azure. Conversely, if you're working with a diverse polyglot stack or open-source technologies, AWS may offer more flexibility and depth. Their services tend to be more granular, giving you precise control but sometimes with steeper learning curves. Also, when you intend to support Nordic languages in AI and database services, there are important differences. Azure's cognitive services have more comprehensive support. Jonas's team at Privacy Guard was primarily using Python and JavaScript with some Kotlin microservices. They found AWS's developer tools slightly better suited to their microservices architecture. However, when they needed natural language processing for Nordic languages, Azure's more mature offerings for Finnish and Swedish tipped the scale for certain features. Let's talk money. While cloud pricing is generally global, several factors affect the economics specifically for Nordic startups. First, currency considerations. Azure offers EUR billing as standard, eliminating exchange rate volatility for most Nordic companies. AWS defaults to USD, but offers EUR options with some limitations. This might seem minor, but for cash-sensitive startups, currency fluctuations can impact runway planning. Both providers offer generous startup programs. AWS Activate provides up to $100,000 in credits, while Microsoft for startups offers up to $150,000. However, the qualification criteria differ, with Microsoft often requiring either accelerator participation or VC backing. The pricing winner depends entirely on your specific architecture and usage patterns. Neither provider is universally cheaper. For compute-intensive workloads, AWS often wins, while for database and Microsoft integrated services, Azure frequently offers better economics in the Nordic market. Success with a cloud provider isn't just about technology, but also about ecosystem support. This is particularly important in the tight-knit Nordic tech community. Microsoft has historically maintained a stronger physical presence across Nordic countries, with offices in all major cities and support staff who speak local languages. AWS has been expanding rapidly, but still has a smaller footprint. Azure offers support in all Nordic languages, while AWS support is primarily in English with limited Swedish and Danish options. Both providers partner extensively with Nordic accelerators and incubators. Azure is more connected with corporate innovation programs, while AWS has deeper relationships with early-stage accelerators like Sting in Stockholm. Another consideration is integration with local systems. Azure offers more out-of-box connectors for Nordic-specific services like Bank ID, Swish payments, and mobile pay, while AWS requires more custom development for these regional services. Nordic startups rarely stay just Nordic. Most have European or global ambitions. How do the cloud providers compare when it's time to expand? AWS offers more global regions overall, which can be advantageous when expanding to distant markets like APAC or Latin America. Their global architecture patterns are well documented and consistent across regions. Azure has particularly strong presence throughout Europe, which often makes for a smoother initial expansion from Nordic to broader European markets. Their EU-wide compliance tools also simplify the regulatory aspects of European expansion. When Privacy Guard expanded from Finland to serve customers across Europe, it initially leveraged Azure's strong European regional presence. However, when a major U.S. customer opportunity arose, she found that implementing a multi-region architecture was slightly more straightforward with AWS's more consistent global infrastructure model. AI and machine learning have become central to SaaS innovation, and Nordic startups are often at the forefront of these technologies. Which cloud offers better AI/ML capabilities for Nordic contexts? Azure has traditionally held an advantage in supporting Nordic languages in their cognitive services and large language models. Their custom GPT offering has more comprehensive training data. For startups building products specifically for Nordic users, this can be significant. AWS counters with generally more flexible and granular ML infrastructure, allowing for more customization if you're building proprietary models. Their SageMaker platform has gained significant traction among Nordic deep tech startups. Privacy Guard needed to analyze privacy policies and data handling documentation in multiple Nordic languages. The team found that Azure's language understanding services required less custom training to achieve high accuracy in Finnish and Swedish, saving months of development time. We've developed a decision framework based on patterns observed across successful Nordic SaaS companies. First, start by prioritizing your technical requirements. List your must-haves versus nice-to-haves, particularly focusing on services that differentiate your product. Map these against each provider's offerings in your regions specifically, not their global capabilities. Next, consider your growth trajectory. Are you primarily focused on Nordic markets, planning European expansion, or going global from day one? This impacts the importance of local presence versus global reach. Regulatory compliance needs should be explicitly documented. If you're handling sensitive data categories or serving regulated industries, the specific compliance tools each provider offers become crucial differentiators. Honestly assess your team's existing expertise. A team with strong Microsoft development background might be 30 to 40% more productive on Azure initially, while a team with AWS experience would face a similar productivity hit switching to Azure. Finally, calculate total cost of ownership beyond the basic service pricing. Include estimates for training, integration work, third-party tools, and ongoing operational costs. Some of the successful startups we've observed make this decision based on specific requirements rather than general preferences, and they're not afraid to revisit the decision as they scale. We see essentially a draw in core performance, pricing for most typical workloads, and compliance tools, with both providers investing heavily in these areas. The reality is that there's no universal winner. It depends entirely on your specific priorities. The most successful approach we've observed is making an intentional choice based on your unique requirements rather than following market trends or making assumptions based on global reputations. If you're making this decision for your startup, here's a practical action plan based on best practices we've gathered from successful Nordic SaaS companies. Start with structured experimentation using both providers' free tiers. Build a simple prototype of your core service on each platform and document the developer experience, performance metrics, and any limitations you encounter. Create a proof of concept for your most technically challenging or differentiating feature. This targeted approach often reveals subtle differences that marketing materials won't highlight. Use our cost projection worksheet, available in the description below, to model your expenses over 12, 24, and 36 months on each platform, including reserved instance or savings plan options. Consider consulting with local experts. Both AWS and Azure have solution architects available for startups, often at little or no cost. These conversations are important. Finally, think about migration strategy. Even if you're committed to one provider today, circumstances change. Architectural decisions that preserve some flexibility can pay dividends later, just as Privacy Guard discovered. So, this isn't just a technical decision. It's a strategic business choice that will impact your operations, economics, and go-to-market approach.